Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 415 for the week of August 20th, 2019. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who is here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
And Charlie.
So, as we speak, Charlie is reading Batman number 76. In a moment, he's going to be reading Batman 77. Now, we are not going to spoil Batman 77 for Charlie or the listeners of this podcast. However, next week, assuming there's more to talk about, I expect probably in the morning we'll see some random articles out there about Batman 77, more so than just a link on Bleeding Cool as a spoiler. Assuming we actually do get a decent amount of stuff we can maybe say more about next week, we will. For now, if you're going to buy Batman 77 from your local comic shop tomorrow, probably going to have a hard time finding it. I got a nice reorder in, so hopefully those come in a week or two.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, Batman 77. We want Charlie's live reaction.
So we're not going to do...
So when he gets to that page or series of pages, I want to see what Charlie's,
We want to hear.
He will just exclaim in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Are you really picturing Charlie exclaiming when he gets to the page?
I think so.
Right.
Okay.
I think so.
See, now I'm like, are they going to kill Green Lantern?
So let's move on to a few topics. We have a bunch of questions. We'll get to those as well. But right now, for some topics to talk about, everyone knows my horrible Twitter account where I horribly talk about politics way too often. But there was definitely
your personal account.
Huh?
Your personal account?
My Twitter account, yes.
Yeah. Because you run the store account, but that one's...
Yeah, it's fairly innocuous. But one thing, there's definitely on most of the Twitter feeds I was reading over the last couple of days has been a forward in upcoming Golden Age Marvel Comics history book and anthology. By legendary comic creator Art Spiegelman, of course, famous for Mouse. He had a introduction to the Marvel Comics collection, in which he was talking about the horrible nature of the pre-World War and into World War II era.
Fascism, all that stuff.
Yeah, and post-World War I, pre-World War II.
Because he was supposed to be touching on the 1939 to 1949
Yeah, I mean,
years.
The start of Marvel. Yeah. So the Golden Age stuff. And of course, one of the lines in it says, "In today's all too real world, Captain America's most nefarious villain, the Red Skull, is alive on screen, and an Orange Skull haunts America." Clearly a reference to everyone's favorite president, Donald Trump.
You can't even say that with a straight face.
That's really tough. So the Folio Society, who's publishing the book from Marvel, and I'm assuming from Disney, said that they wanted him to remove the line because they were trying to stay, quote-unquote, atopical. And Art Spiegelman said no, and he pulled the entire introduction. If there is a time in Marvel Comics to be, not political, it is not the fucking golden age of Marvel Comics with Captain America punching Hitler in the face.
Over and over again.
Like, what a misread of the content that you're going to be discussing in this book.
Not to mention, you're telling the person who wrote Mouse
yeah,
to pull something in regards to...
You should know what you're getting into, both by publishing this book and also the people that you're dealing with. What a tone deaf move from Marvel and Disney here. It just seems like,
they're firing on all cylinders right now.
I'm just imagining what would have happened if they edited the comment out and then it came out.
Oh, that would have been even worse.
Yeah. We got to get in front of this PR nightmare. That's already a PR nightmare if we get in front of it.
Now, so many of those creators from Marvel and DC and all the comic book companies at the time, right? They were all mostly undereducated Jewish people that were not able to get jobs and education due to anti-Semitism and racism, and a lot of these guys worked in the slums of comic books, and made some incredible content. And at this point, literally made hundreds of billions of dollars for these companies over 80 years. And so to really just sort of try to wash away any sort of political leaning toward those early comics. I mean, they were extremely political. It's a really dumb comment.
Well, it's not the comment itself is not dumb from Spiegelman. It's the actions that the publisher is taking.
Yes,
with regards to their reaction to this. It's like, yeah, so what? He said orange skull. Whoop-de-effing do. Like, at least that's
it's about the nicest thing anyone said about Donald Trump all year. So,
yeah. Do you think you would that comment would prevent you from buying the book if you were a Trump supporter?
I don't.
That line being in the intro, would you not buy the book?
I mean, full on, like, actual comic book fan probably wouldn't care. Fake internet outrage, Russian Twitter bot, that would be the only thing they'd talk about for days, right? And that's the difference.
The person interested in the history of Golden Age Marvel, I'm assuming, is a comics fan.
Yes.
So substitute out the orange skull for a president that you like.
Sure.
Or some other thing that you're positive on.
Yeah.
If that was in the intro, would you skip the book as a vote with your wallet to protest?
Depends on what he said. There's definitely a lot of extremely racist and derogatory things people would say about Obama, and in that case, I probably would if it was something like that. But if it was just, none of these people are perfect, right? If someone had less than great things to say about Obama in the introduction of a book, but it's, I probably wouldn't care that much. But it depends on what it said, right?
Yeah.
Is orange skull? I don't know.
So that's stupidity.
I think the huge Trump supporter and interested in the history of Golden Age Marvel comic, I think
two polar opposites.
That Venn diagram
it's just very thin,
very small sliver.
Very small in the middle.
It's a Russian bot in the middle.
This is kind of like that Detective Comics before Batman.
Yeah.
Although that wasn't specifically, their fear wasn't a specific comment about a current politician.
Here's a great. I watched the Shazam. I think this came out before the movie.
Documentary,
right? But they have it streaming on the DC Universe app. They have an entire segment of that about the Monster Society of Evil, and
that's after the movie. They premiered that at Comic-Con.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah. Okay. But they have an entire thing about the Monster Society of Evil, and DC won't reprint that trade paperback due to some racist content, but like there's context here. I don't know. It is a weird. Charlie's nodding. Wait, hold on. Charlie got to it.
Yes, I got to it.
Did you look? Do you know?
I read it before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My brain is just going through as you said, if something comes of it, because it seems pretty definitive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I could misinterpret what happened there.
Well, like I said, no spoilers for Batman 77, but DC's. I reached out to DC on Monday when I first heard Whispers, and they were like, we have a lot of stuff to talk about Batman coming up in the coming months, but other than that, we have no comment. And I'm like, okay, there you go. And then today on the retailer forum,
bump your order just based on the rumblings, or did you?
He put in his reorder because of the rumblings.
I heard more than rumblings last night, and went, all right, let's gamble, let's do it. But yeah, they like I said, we're talking around it. Hopefully by the time most people listen to this podcast, you've already read the issue, or you've already been spoiled, so you know what happens. Again,
except for those people who immediately download and listen, you may not have made it to your comic shop yet.
Yeah, we will. Jack, I know you're listening before you come to the comic book store. Don't get spoiled.
This is a good warning of, if you want this issue of Batman and you don't have it in your box,
you need to get it in there.
You need to get there sooner rather than later.
Yep. But yeah, we'll talk more Batman. We'll talk more
Great.
Batman.
Or
We just
use
caused-
the hub.
We just caused an accident. Somebody's like gunning it after they listen to us in the car, going shit.
Yeah, let's.
Although, Ryan, to wrap up on that
Yeah,
previous
we'll go back.
topic,
Yeah.
the Shazam documentary mentioning the Monster Society of Evil, and even though it's seems to be buried from history,
Yep.
reminds me of like seeing the Disney pops of Brer Rabbit,
Yeah.
etc., from quote unquote Splash Mountain.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on, people.
yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I'm living in Orwell's 1984 with
Yeah.
like, this is the history. This is
It's from this ride, and we don't know
yes,
anything else.
That is it.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't care if a company wants to, if Disney's like, we've made a decision, we are never going to put out Song of the South again. Fine. That's their decision, right? DC soliciting. Imagine if they're like Song of the South,
I know.
60th. What would it be like? 60 something anniversary. We're gonna or 55th or 50th or whatever anniversary Blu-ray collector's edition. Oh wait, no, never mind.
We found out there's objectionable content.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's my
Well,
problem.
the
Disney
problem
has
is-
just like burned this movie to
Yeah.
the ground. Fine, right?
Well, the thing is they have
it's
to do
unfortunate, but
something-
fine.
They have to do something with it, or copyright goes.
They can internally do whatever they want. Well, Disney doesn't have to worry about copyright. Disney's never have to worry about copyright.
I'll
again.
just have to treasure my Japanese laserdisc of Song of the South.
I've seen bootleg copies out
Yeah,
there. Right?
yeah, you
People-
can get them.
People have ripped
Yeah.
that Japanese. I think
Yeah.
the Japanese Laserdisc is the cleanest copy that's
It
out
is.
there.
It's pretty nice. I mean, it's not Blu-ray standard.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it looks good.
I know, like the Harmy, is that his name? The despecialized versions of Star Wars.
Yeah.
The guys that have been working on that, they've ripped them from like multiple different sources. So the Blu-rays when it's unedited, and then the Laserdisc and VHS, and they upscale everything, and they do all this technical magic to make it look pretty seamless, and it's awesome. But Disney is reissuing Star Wars on Blu-ray again, like a new version of everything, and I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, if it's not unedited, like.
If it's not the original,
cares?
nobody cares.
Well, my question would be, who doesn't have it now? Who would want it?
Right. I mean,
Well, that's why they have to do something new in the edition, either unedited or there's always a new special feature or a brand new restoration of
Yeah.
off the original masters.
And I don't care.
Best looking version ever existed.
yeah, like, so when they released Star Wars on DVD and they had like as the special edition or the special features like the unedited version, it looked horrible first of all, but it also wasn't the unedited version.
Right.
It still had edits to it. So like no, original theatrical version.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to have a remastered version that cleans up like the grayness of parts of the film. Like that's fine. I don't care about that. I care about the editing, the content of the film, right? And
Because we all know who shot first.
well,
Well,
you mean who shot? Period.
Yeah.
That's true.
This is my hill that I will die on. Forever.
This is the only hill.
Whenever
you're
this
gonna die on?
happens,
He's
this
got
is it.
numerous hills.
You have a mountain range.
He's
You're
got
going to die
between
on.
whenever this comes up, I know. I also always correct people. Han Solo did not shoot first. Han Solo shot. Period.
Spoiler for Star Wars.
That is it. That is the end.
I'm just having fun picturing Disney like really messing with everybody and being like, okay, this is a new version of Star Wars, but you have to choose like from this to this to this, like which version you want per scene.
No.
I think
Well, like Star Trek, when they had those Star Trek Blu-rays out, right? I mean, you just hit a button, burp, burp, burp,
Yeah.
it zips back and forth, and the restored original versions look wonderful.
Yeah.
They're super good. That new effects look terrible. I don't know what.
You mean? Are you talking about the TV show?
Yeah.
I don't mind those effects.
I don't. It looks so weird.
I like
understand.
both. I like both versions.
It just.
I like the Gorn blinking. I think it's cool. I love the Gorn, so any new Gorn stuff, I just think is cool.
Like they spent a shitload of money on the next gen Blu-rays to make those work, and they've said like the DS9 and Voyagers probably aren't worth it because of the amount of work they have to put into it. But they've done a amazing job putting those out on Blu-ray. and giving you an option. If Star Wars was like, you can watch the edited, you can watch like the original, you can watch the version with A New Hope, the New Hope thing, you can watch the remastered, you can watch the special edition. Fine, like at least it's there, 100% unrestored, right? Yeah, that's all I want. Yeah. Anyway, we got way off track there.
In 4K.
The last thing on the Spiegelman.
Yes. The book's still going to come out. I'm sure it's going to be a super cool book.
But I'm sure it is. But my only concern if I could step aside from the politics, if I was Folio or Marvel.
Yeah.
No, this would be more specifically Folio. I just wouldn't want to date it. You know what I mean? I don't want a Trump reference, not because I'm pro-Trump, or I just don't want to tie it to that specific of a moment in history. I'd rather it be a general examination by him of the Golden Age.
Yeah, it's true. But referencing to the, talking about the problems of war and racism does not tie you to any specific date, because it's
calling out a specific individual.
No, right. I mean, if they approached him with that method and say, hey, look, we want to kind of make this a little more timely, no pun intended, can we drop the Trump specific reference but talk more about just the horrors of war and racism and all these problems that were prevalent in the 1930s and prevalent in 2019? I understand. Yeah,
because we can't really separate Marvel from...
That's okay. The way I look at it is they'll pull it from the book and it will just land online anyway.
Oh, it's already online.
Yeah.
It's already out there.
So
his whole thing was he pulled it from the book and published it on The Guardian. So the entire piece is out there.
It's not like this content got removed. It's not like they went, we paid you for this content so we can bury it.
Yeah. Let's see. We have some...
I have a difficult time removing Marvel from political with the guy who's the head of Marvel currently.
Well, there was one of the retailer forums, one of the retailers was talking about how they had posted something. They didn't even realize that the thing they were posting was going to be seen as controversial or political or whatever. I can't remember. It was some independent book, and they were talking about... I think they were talking about Brexit. Was it about Once and Future? It must have been about Once and Future. Anyway... They said that some people read the article and were like mad about the political nature, the more liberal political nature of the article, and said, "Oh, I don't want this comic book anymore. I want to drop this comic book." And they said, "Oh, I don't want these politics in my comic books." And my reply was, "So we're just going to go back to reading, the X-Men and Captain America. Get these politics out of my comic books, right?" It's such a dumb argument. Comic books have been political since the beginning. Yeah. They've been social justice warriors since Superman, since Action Comics #1, right? I mean, the entire nature of comic books and politics have gone together forever. Whether you have even to the Senate hearings to try to ban and censor the comic books through
McCarthy era,
through Stan Lee writing and pulling it out of the comics code for the Spider-Man issues, talking about drugs, and that's political in a way too, right? It's very socio-political. Obviously, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, Green Arrow in the 70s. Yep. Obviously, fucking the 80s and Vertigo and everything that came from that, and to today, right? I mean,
DC had that election one. Years ago, the less
to say about that, the better. Yeah. Nice attempt, but it didn't quite work. Comics have always been very political. There's a couple before we get to some questions here. There's not a ton of comic book news this week, but a couple news, comic book media news stuff dropped this week that I did want to touch on real quick. First is right after the finale, which I haven't seen. I'm still a few episodes behind it, but I'm almost there. Sci-Fi in a wonderful sci-fi mode canceled Krypton, and that also puts kibosh on the rumored Lobo spin-off show.
Well, not rumored. It was actually
well, they wanted to do it.
Yeah,
it just they hadn't done it yet. Hopefully, they just move this to DC Universe.
I haven't watched the finale yet. I think that's all. I haven't watched the season 2.
It just makes no sense. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that. It makes perfect sense. It's sci-fi. Sci-fi sucks, right? The fact that anything lasts on that's more than a season or two.
But they actually gave us a decent Krypton show.
Well, if you go back 5 years, I was watching like 5 or 6 shows on sci-fi. It was crazy. And then just everything got canceled. Everything ended. Everything got scrapped.
Well, they had some very good shows, but as you said, there's two things for me. One, with the amount of content on there, they haven't, other than Krypton, haven't really had a show to make me go, I need to go back and watch this on sci-fi. I would say the last thing I was heavily invested in sci-fi was Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Well, I really liked, they had a bunch of those space shows from the Space Channel in Canada. So I was watching Lost Girl and Continuum and...
I've been watching Continuum, but I only started watching it on Netflix. I never watched it like on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, I watched them all on Sci-Fi. What was the one based on that Dark Horse comic? The people that were trapped in like the ship.
Dark
Matter.
Dark Matter.
They had Dark Matter. They had a bunch of really good shows.
And I watched the first season of The Expanse.
Killjoys. I haven't seen those, but I've heard good things.
Yeah.
But man, Sci-Fi just kills shows. I don't know.
Well, in general, I think it's silly of a... So at this point, Sci-Fi has basically said, or has heavily indicated, they can't afford to make expensive sci-fi shows for Sci-Fi.
Well, Krypton looked pretty expensive, all things considered. It looked like a fairly high-budget show
what I'm saying
it was.
They're not getting the ratings for the shows they produce to produce expensive...
So why take on this at all?
Yeah, Continuum from a...
those came from space, though. Yeah. That was not a sci-fi show, as far as I know.
No,
they licensed
but even
those.
then, the cost of making that show, because of the way they did it, was much more grounded and didn't require a...
But was that made by Sci-Fi?
I don't think it was made by Sci-Fi, but what I'm saying is Farscape got canceled for budgetary reasons.
Yeah, they all do eventually.
Yeah. And I don't think Sci-Fi has had a good show that justifies a big sci-fi budget in a long time.
Well, right, original Sci-Fi, but that's what I meant. They were licensing a bunch of shows to air in America, but I haven't done a ton of info on it, but as far as I know, they weren't funding those shows. They
used to be in production on all sorts of stuff, especially stuff filming in Canada and such.
Maybe
all this. Here's my favorite thing about Sci-Fi, in a weird way, is it got to the point between Sanctuary and Stargate and all that. You always saw the same actors.
Right,
because they were all filmed in the same place, and
what's the show that what's her face from Stargate SG-1 did?
Sanctuary.
That is Sanctuary. Okay, I never saw that. And Warehouse 13.
Yeah,
they had some of a couple same people.
I've been Continuum had the actor who played Braytac and some of the You can always identify these shows are filmed in this area.
Thank you for people. Yeah.
I've actually been watching Travelers recently on Netflix.
Okay.
Which is done by, I want to say, one of the producers on Stargate, SG-1 and those. So, Amanda Tapping showed up in that show recently.
Yeah, of course. All the same people.
Yeah.
Well, Krypton, you didn't survive your planet's explosion. Hopefully you survived Sci-Fi's explosion. I'm hoping Sci-Fi... I'm sorry. I'm hoping the DC Universe will pick that up, because that'd be great. Season 1's on that. Yeah. I wonder if it's doing well for them. I think at this point everything's kind of up in the air a little bit for DC Universe. Titans is they just dropped Titans. It comes out next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was that soon. Had they dated that? Did we know it was the beginning of September?
Not until they put out that little teaser.
That was very soon, so I thought we still had months until that came out. So very excited that that's coming back. So, fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll hear about Stargirl soon. I'm still about halfway through Swamp Thing. I'm really liking Swamp Thing. Disappointed.
I just have a few more episodes of Swamp Thing to get through.
I haven't started Young Justice in the second half yet. I'm going to get to that soon, but we will move on to the problems of reporting on something the second it happens because nobody knows what's actually happening.
Come on, Ryan. This is immediate reaction culture.
Nerd
hot
internet.
take.
Nerd internet loves to have no idea what's going on.
Hot take.
So today has been nothing but Sony and Disney are done.
It's like a bad breakup.
They are officially pulling Spider-Man from the MCU. It's over. This is what was reported 4 or 5 hours ago and has been in the news all day. That they had, I believe they said it was a 5% first dollar deal with Disney. Kevin, maybe you have a better understanding. As I understand, it's like basically the first day's worth of, or the first weekend's worth of money Disney
it all
would
hinged
get.
on that box office for Far From Home.
Yeah.
Which kicked in this new arrangement.
Yeah, and the new arrangement is Disney wants 50-50.
Yeah.
And the report is Sony said, nope, no counter, we're out. All right, we're done. The deal that they had was, Disney got some small amount, but they put in, Kevin Feige worked on it. They had people, obviously, the MCU guys were heavily involved with it, so they were paid in some fashion. Plus, they made some small percent off the box office, but it still mostly went to Sony.
And there was a merchandise, I think, kick in.
Yeah, I think Disney got the merchandising, Sony got the movie
I thought
money.
they already had the merchandising. I don't think
they did, but they wouldn't do anything. They're like, we're not going to merchandise their movie.
Yeah.
But that's what all got fixed. However, that was 5 hours ago. And like an hour before we started recording the podcast, all of a sudden is now reports, well, this actually is still going on. They're still talking. Maybe it's not actually going to get pulled. We don't really quite know what's going on now, so we're right back to where we started, that nobody knows what's happening. They'll figure it out. You know, with the MCU, I mean, there's no movie coming up that Spider-Man would be in, all right? There's no Iron Man movie. There's no Avengers movie. There's no Spider-Man movie. He's not going to be in Eternals, right?
yeah.
If the news broke tomorrow and it said, okay, this is the finale, this is not speculation, the deal is dead, we're going our separate ways,
Yeah.
I would shrug. Because my two favorite Spider-Man movies, Raimi's Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Verse, were Sony productions with no Disney.
Yeah.
And when we did the Far From Home episode, my main complaint is the way, now that it's in the MCU, they're ladling on all this extra baggage onto Spider-Man. And I was saying, I just want a Spider-Man solo movie with no Nick Fury, no Tony Stark references, no Happy Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I would get.
Yeah.
And Sony, if you're in Sony's position, you're probably thinking two things. We made an Academy Award-winning Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
We had a huge hit with Venom.
Yep.
We've now had Disney, Kevin Feige, kind of co-running the ship on this. Well, now that we've, when you have other producers on the line in Kevin Feige's shadow, let's call it, well, now we've seen how the sausage is made.
Yeah,
We've seen how Marvel does it.
Yeah.
So let's go out. Why would we give them 50%?
Even if Spider-Man made half as much money, they'd still be just as profitable with that deal, right?
Yes.
So there's very little reason for Sony to work with Disney on this. I mean, as a fan, you want Spider-Man in the MCU. As corporate America, there's no reason that Sony needs to do this now.
No.
So.
And this is something I was thinking about my initial reaction is, how do you kind of work but then I thought about the after credit scene in Far From Home. And that is so sort of Spider-Man central. You can pick up just with that thread and you really don't need anything in the MCU to kind of carry it forward.
Except we know that the Baxter Building's not going to be built.
Well, it'd be, Venom completely ignores the MCU and Spider-Man. It'd be very easy for Spider-Man. Every Spider-Man comic book takes place in New York City and it doesn't have the Avengers in it, right? I mean, it is possible to do these things. Yeah. There's a small part of me that would love to see Spider-Man show up in another Marvel movie, right? Another MCU movie. Sure, of course. But if the movies are good, the movies are good. That's all I care about. Whoever whoever greenlit and decided that Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 were the way to go. Hopefully, they're long gone from Sony. I don't know who those people were.
Well, the problem with those movies, setting aside quality, if you're the Sony bean counters, the box office on those movies is not a problem.
Yeah,
anybody'd be happy to have it. The problem with those is the cost to make them was what throws it all out of balance. It's not like, oh my God, these were megaton bombs that'll sink a studio. They weren't. They just were really expensive to make.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Marvel Phase 4 that's been announced, and even the TV shows, the Disney Plus, I don't think there's any property anybody looks at and goes, oh, if this deal doesn't go through, oh, this is going to ruin everything without Spider-Man in it. What?
No.
In what?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't be in any part of it.
Right.
Well, even I think if you look at those Phase 4 Marvel movies, too, I could see Eternals having a pretty decent budget, but there's got to be they're not going to throw $300 million at that movie.
Oh.
Doctor Strange will probably have the biggest budget of all of those.
Yeah, they all feel very small. You could do Blade cheap. You could do Shang-Chi cheap. You can do, any of these other ones that they're talking about cheap. Doctor Strange would be the one that would have the biggest budget, but,
And on the Sony side, you can bet that Morbius is not going to be dropping references to Venom and everything else.
Well, it could Venom. Morbius.
I guess they could.
Yeah.
It seems like their style is let's just make these standalone vehicles that just work with no other knowledge.
Hell's a Morbius movie coming out? What world is this, Kevin?
Right.
What?
Right.
When did I wake up? What happened?
Hello, we were sitting in a theater and saw Mr. Mind in a live-action movie. Okay? That's what world you're in.
And we were all geeking out.
Morbius
this year, I saw both Mr. Mind and Mr. Mime in Pokemon, okay? Like, my two favorite Misters in comic books and nerd culture, both. Mr. Fantastic could take a far third seat to Mr. Mind from Pokemon, okay?
We're going to get Mr. Miracle, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. It is. Whatever ends up happening, it would be unfortunate if we lost Spider-Man in those movies. But, they'll figure it out one day. Or Disney just buys Sony. It's probably cheaper in the long run.
Oh, God, don't say that.
Well, there's been rumors for a while.
Don't say that.
They just buy Warner Brothers.
Just the last thing you want. Okay.
Disney buys AT&T and Sony.
MCU fans.
He's like, we can't make Spider-Man, we're just going to buy you.
You don't want further monopoly in the filmmaking business. You don't want a thing where Disney's this huge choke point where all of these movies have to go through the Disney business model.
They got to go through the mouse, so if they don't, they die.
Not to mention X thousand more people being laid off if Disney buys another studio.
They'll buy Sony, then they'll buy AT&T, and then it'll just be over. Well, they'll own literally everything.
As long as... So, here's my mentality. We talk a little bit about these mergers and that kind of stuff, but a lot of what would be considered the main competition in terms of content creation aren't these long-established studios anymore. It's all Netflix and Amazon and that stuff. And you get a little bit of that on the side with Hulu because it got purchased way back by Disney, but for the most part, I don't think that Sony's output of movies would throw things off at all if they weren't in the market.
From a fan perspective, you mean?
Because it would
throw a huge thing off for people who get their paycheck from Sony.
Yeah, but how much content is Sony creating in terms of movies and television at this point?
I'm sure quite a bit.
I don't know. I don't see their...
You get less and less show. Creative people have less and less studios to shop to.
Oh, it's
you don't... Your content...
With the streaming services, that's not true. There is more homes for content now than ever before in history.
Well, how many big studios are there?
So Sony released 29 movies in 2018, okay?
Okay.
Until the very, very beginning of 2019, including Jumanji, Venom, Hotel Transylvania, Spider-Verse, Peter Rabbit, I never even heard of that, Equalizer 2, Goosebumps, Slender... They did a Slender Man movie? And then a lot of shit no one's ever heard of. But, that's 4 or 5 movies that deserve some... And I'm sure some of these movies down here that mean nothing are probably very good.
Yeah, but I guess here's my mentality. Disney, for a very long time, and like ABC and that kind of stuff, Disney doesn't treat it like they just have one kind of production company up and running. It's not like every movie that people quickly associate with Disney follows a Disney model of sort of the same kind of things. There's always been sort of the offshoot brands and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
They used to have good old Hollywood Pictures, was a Disney subsidiary.
Yeah.
And Touchstone, I believe, was a Disney subsidiary.
Touchstone.
But movies were funneled to those labels that didn't fit the Disney brand.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's Hulu now, right? A lot of TV shows going to go to Hulu. Is Miramax still Disney?
I don't know that Miramax even exists.
Is it gone?
Well, it became the Weinstein Company when.
Yeah,
That's the name we don't really want to.
Well, Disney owned.
Yeah, I don't know that Miramax still exists as an entity.
Okay, so it's just still just the Weinstein Company, but
you don't even know the
what is that
standard
now?
of the Weinstein Company now.
Yeah.
But any event, my point is just there's a shit ton of content being created these days in channels that didn't exist
Right.
10 years ago.
Yeah. We're gonna go to some questions. Not a lot of big news this week, but we always got some questions.
Then it'll be time for a retro email.
Oh, maybe we could do this. You can do this. So we got a bunch on Patreon. Really, through to Patreon backers first. That's patreon.com/comicsconspiracy.
Are any other questions about He-Man?
He-Man. No.
Damn it!
You can talk about it, Charlie. You excited for Kevin Smith's He-Man?
Yes, I am.
I'm not.
It's a continuation of the original series.
You're not selling me.
Done by the folks that did like the Castlevania anime.
Oh, okay. A little bit. Kevin, your day one.
I'm neutral on He-Man. I was walking around the booth at Comic-Con with Toby, looking at because they were putting out the dolls that looked just like the old school ones, and it was fun to go like, oh yeah, I remember that character. I couldn't remember their names, but like, oh yeah, I remember that guy with the feathers and that guy with the mace and that fish guy. But I'm not steeped in the lore.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Nah, I hope it's fun.
I'm trying to remember what it was called. There was a mini series long time ago written by Warren Ellis for G.I. Joe. Mm-hmm. That was like a 1 week event or something on Cartoon Network. But like, again, that was like a continuation of like old school G.I. Joe in sort of a more sort of serious anime style. And that was cool too. So
good stuff. Yep. Paula Schultz asks, what's your favorite cross-universe crossover? Batman, TMNT, Star Trek, those Looney Tunes crossovers from DC. I loved that Star Trek Doctor Who crossover.
That was great.
Comics. That was really fun.
Assimilation Squared. The
Star Trek X-Men crossovers that Marvel did back like in the late 90s. Those were really fun. The Star Trek Legion of Superheroes one that IDW and DC did. That was great. So there's been a couple of these that have been a ton of fun.
All the Batman Turtle ones have been good.
I really didn't read those. I haven't gotten into those ones yet. But
Damn it, Ryan.
I do want to read them.
Can cross-universe mean Marvel and DC?
Well, sure. I mean, this is specifically like comics and...
Oh, and a toy?
Property stuff.
Property.
But yeah.
The Star Trek Legion looks cool. I haven't read it.
It's good. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
Like Star Trek Green Lantern was pretty...
Yeah, that was okay. I remember that one. I remember that one was all right. DC's done a lot of them.
I really liked... Oh, this is not toys, but I really liked a couple of those Hanna-Barbera crossovers.
Well, that's one of them. Yeah, the Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera ones are pretty cool. That Lex Luthor one, the Lex Luthor Porky Pig one is really good with Mark Russell.
I didn't read that one.
Yeah, that's good. It was fucked up, as expected.
I got to go with the blue.
It was not.
I got to go with the Blue Falcon.
It was not political at all.
Yeah. The Blue Falcon Dynamite Super Sons.
Yeah. That was really good.
Yeah.
And they actually worked. Didn't they work that into continuity with the Super Sons book? I feel like there was like some reference to.
I think they referenced it in the actual book.
Well, the story in the book made Dynamite and Blue Falcon a member of the Batman Inc. stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
which
random.
Is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and Batman Elmer Fudd. I mean, nothing will beat Batman Elmer Fudd, and that
definitely got worked into content.
Yeah, King's used that in the main Batman comic multiple times now. Which
okay,
is
let me branch off the person's
thing.
question then. Favorite Marvel and DC crossover? I know what Ryan's going to pick.
What's that?
JLA Avengers.
Oh yeah, of course. It was so good.
Anybody have a pick that's not that?
I haven't read them.
I remember liking the was it Batman Daredevil?
Oh, was that Romita Jr.?
He was like Romita Jr. and Bagley, I think. I think Bagley did the covers or something on that. I remember liking that a lot when it came out. It's been a long time since I've read that. I love Spawn Batman when it came out.
God, I haven't read that since.
I'm sure it's unreadable now. But...
I loved Grendel Batman. They did two of that. Yeah. Those were, I remember, being really good.
Oh, Aliens Batman's. That first series was great.
There's Batman vs. Predator.
Yeah.
Charlie's favorite Batman Max.
Oh, come on. Charlie's is Galactus Darkseid.
That one was good.
Yeah. Was that Byrne?
Yeah.
That was Darkseid.
The Hunger. I think it's called The Hunger. Yeah, that's good. I still got to vote with just for sentimental value.
Teen Titans, X-Men.
Superman, Spider-Man.
Oh, sure.
The first one.
Yeah.
But Teen Titans, X-Men.
There's always Lobo the Duck.
Amalgam.
We actually get big stacks of Amalgam from time to time, and those are really fun comics.
They sell.
The Iron Lantern.
Lobo the Duck is still my favorite of all those, though.
Iron Lantern is my favorite of those Amalgam because that's like written like a Silver Age comic. And what's cool about it is just like it's a random issue of a Silver Age comic. It's not the origin.
Yeah, it's
just like an issue that you pick up in the middle of a run.
Yeah. This one's from Amy. Yes, it says from Amy down below. It says, hello, I've gone to Dragon Con every year for about a decade now. And I've never taken the time to get any of my comics signed before. This year I wanted to change that, especially since George Perez might not be doing another year. Because I know there's not a ton of comic people at Dragon Con, is there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but I know George Perez goes to that every year. He always posts about it. Yeah,
if I recall. Yeah.
So I was wondering how you pick what you're going to get signed. Do you think it's best to stick with floppies because then you don't have to lug around anything heavy? Or do you get a trade signed, or would you rather be a hardcover? There's a couple questions, so we'll stick with this first part. I'm always a hardcover. I love getting hardcover signed on the inside, personalized as well. Floppies are fine. Like I've gotten plenty of singles signed, but if it's someone that I really like, I'll have a nice hardcover collection and I get them signed. When I saw Stan Lee got the sign of Fantastic Four Omnibus, the Volume 1, I have multiple stuff by Jeff Johns. When we were down at Comic-Con with Tom King and Mitch Gertis.
You got the Mr. Miracle.
No, I didn't have Mr. Miracle.
I
had the Vertigo book, Sheriff of Babylon. Yeah. Well, most of my stuff that's signed is hardcovers. Maybe I'll know Kevin's.
Well,
Kevin's book.
My book, though, is... What is the questioner's name? Amy?
Yeah.
My hardcover, that DC Universe, is super thin and small and easy to carry. It's like the size of a comic.
Charlie carries like 7 omnibuses with him when he goes.
If there was a creator at a store signing, like when you and I, Ryan, when we saw Neil Gaiman in the city, San Francisco, to those not in the area, I took an omnibus to that. Yeah. I would not take an omnibus to a con, though. Because if you're having to carry it around, I would probably go trade. If I have to, or a thin hardcover, I would not take something,
or just the one thing you really want. Like I had, why am I blanking? Paul Levitz signed my Legion. I can't remember the name of the Dark Side one.
Great Darkness Saga.
Yeah, Great Dark Side. Yeah. Like I took that with me because I knew he was going to be there. So. I mean, it just depends. Like, would I carry an omnibus?
Well, you're also there for, 4 or 5 days or something like that.
Or unless you're going for one day.
Yeah. But if you're going for multiple days, you can always bring, one thing each day and lug it around and just drop it back off at the hotel or something.
An individual issue would be my last choice on that spectrum of choices.
So, for me, it all depends on sort of I don't necessarily feel like there's this is the right answer. It depends on kind of what's precious to you. Like, there are definitely sort of like single issues with like the cover where I'd be like, this is what I want signed. And then there's definitely other times it's going to go straight for like the absolute or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like already know the answer of like what item means the most to you by them.
And this is not always a guaranteed thing, but the bigger the book, sometimes the more stuff they'll do for you, especially if they're like a artist and writer and they do both. They'll maybe sometimes do a little sketch in an omnibus or absolute.
I have a John's Batman head drawn into the hardcover that I got.
Yeah, definitely not a guarantee, but
thinking back on some signed items that I have, I'm just thinking of things that I've taken to cons, not to store appearances.
Yeah.
So like Gil Kane was signed the first Green Lantern archive, but that's a small, manageable size hardcover.
Yeah,
Joe Kubert, I got him to sign an old, this is like a late 80s Silver Age Hawkman trade paperback that DC did.
Yeah.
Again, easy to manage, and it has all his Hawkman stuff. Would I have rather had it in a hardcover? Yes, but they didn't.
It doesn't
make that
at the time. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking. I always go with like something that's like Starlin, who I missed at Comic-Con. What I had brought for that was the Death of Captain Marvel graphic novel. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of Starlin collections and stuff, but that specific book was the most sentimental value for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose that.
And I also think unless you're going to display it, a single issue is going to get filed in your comic box or it's going to get put away. A graphic novel, more than likely, is sitting on a shelf somewhere. You can still pull it out. I pulled through and look at my autograph stuff pretty regularly, actually, just because I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this sign. It's cool.
Yeah, but I also think it's like you said, like if there's something that is very specific, like a specific just issue that really hit home, yeah, that's something you would be like, I want that one signed. Other than that, it's I think you're right. Everybody,
like you could do the thought exercise at you, meaning anybody.
Yeah.
At home, look at your bookshelf and go, if I met creator X, who I've never seen before, what book would I pull off the shelf if I had to pick one?
Don't be the a-hole that brings a long box.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people do it.
You'd be the most hated person in life.
So
people do it. They just they usually end up paying for that, right?
I will say this though. Yes, bring whatever is the most precious item to you.
Precious.
But if you also want to interact with creator more, sometimes it also helps to bring something they aren't likely to have seen
for a while,
400 times that day.
It says, I know what I want to get signed by George Perez and Marv Wolfman, New Teen Titans number 34. But some of the other creators I wasn't sure. Other creators are going to be there. Chuck Brown, Erica Henderson, Kyle Stark, Fabian Nicieza. Get my New Warriors number 1 signed. George Perez, Matt Wilson, Marv Wolfman, Barry Kitson, Peter David, Will Rosado, Joanne Estep, Francisco Francavilla.
Sounds like a long box or short box already.
George's Gente, I don't know them, and Yannick Paquette. A lot of those guys are going to have, like Peter David. You could bring a bookstore and have that guy sign it. That dude's done so much stuff. Yeah, and Fabian Nicieza, he has a ton of his stuff has been collected. He's I guarantee you the thing he's seen the most has probably been New Mutants 98 these days, the first Deadpool, because he wrote that issue. But yeah, all those guys have a ton of stuff. Yannick Paquette, has he done something recent?
Yeah, he did
the Wonder Woman. Yeah. No, that's
what I would take.
That's the best of both worlds. The Wonder Woman Earth 1.
I don't know. I like the Swamp Thing stuff.
Well, that's the only format is a small hardcover. That's like the perfect book for you.
And that is, to me, not only is it the best size, but that is like he has achieved like full chrysalis blooming as the art in that is stunning.
Francavilla hasn't done He's done a lot of work, but hasn't done a ton of interior stuff. So that's a guy you're probably going to end up getting signed, like a variant cover that he's done, or
if there's a print for sale at the table.
Right. A lot of you're going to get a print.
Yeah, Art Germ, you're probably just
yeah. And would it be weird to ask a colorist to color something? What if it's a cover from something they didn't have any connection to? And on the top of that, just any etiquette pointers for getting things signed.
I will. Quick anecdote.
Yeah.
A former roommate of mine at a con many years ago got Carmine Infantino. Now, this is late period Carmine Infantino, and I was not at this con, so that's why Carmine is not in my book. Got Carmine to sketch a Flash head on a backing board. he was not satisfied with the quality of this flash head. Now, this is Carmine at 85 years old or whatever, so it's not going to look like the Silver Age version. But anyway, and he spent a portion of the day at the con going up and down Artist Alley trying to find somebody to ink this picture. And every artist said, no, I'm not touching it. Because it's a Carmine Infantino original.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ink it.
Wait, your friend?
My friend
went up and down.
Yes, went up and down.
Are they still your friend?
Trying to find someone to ink this, and everybody was aghast that you would even ask that.
Just grab it out of their hand and be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah. So I bring this up only to illustrate perhaps when you're asking a colorist to color something, some people are going to be hesitant to alter. If it's a black and white print, I don't know that people would push back on you as much as it would be for an original piece of art.
Well,
So, in general, I don't think you're going to get something like that done at a con. I don't think there would be the time and stuff.
That's what I was going to say. That would be a commission level at that point. Yeah. I'm sure they would take it and go, give me 6 weeks and, it's $100 and I'll do it. But they're just not going to.
They probably don't have the tools with them at a con.
Yeah,
a lot of people are coloring digitally.
Right. So,
now, that being said, if you did decide to get somebody to color something, I would find it very interesting if you kind of took the same image to multiple colorists and just see what different people did with it.
People have done that. Actually, funny enough, Todd McFarlane did that with a cover of Spawn of like a year or two ago. There was like a colorist appreciation month or something like that Image did, and he had like 10 different colorists color the same image that he drew, and they all came out wildly different, and he used them for all these variant covers. It was pretty cool.
Great.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I mean, just general etiquette for signing is
restrict your number of items.
Right. I mean,
shower that day.
Deodorant.
And don't overstay your welcome.
Yes. Yeah. Think about what you're going to ask them first. Talk to them. Don't, they're just humans. Don't, they've heard it all. They've seen it all 1,000 times, especially something like George Perez or Marv Wolfman. They've been doing this for fucking 40 years, 50 years at this point. You're not going to surprise them. Just don't be a giant asshole to them, right? I mean, that's, just be nice. Talk to them, tell them how much you appreciate their work. Limit. Don't. I mean, people like when Scott Snyder was at Comic-Con, he was signing like a fucking long box, but it was a paid event. I mean, if it's okay, it's okay. They'll do it. But if it's something like that, they're going to be like, "Hey, I'll see you Sunday. I'll do this on and off."
I think at a comic creator at something like Dragon Con, you're going to have more opportunity for interaction than like the assembly line at San Diego where Snyder and Capullo was just like machines signing.
Yep. At least for like for like sketches, a lot of artists won't do them anymore. Some do, right? Plenty will, but a lot won't, just because 90% of them just could go on eBay and get flipped, and they're sick of that. So they either charge or they
personalize.
Well. That's the secret right there. Every single person I've ever gone up to for an autograph, I say, I don't know, you're signing personalized. My name is Ryan. Again, no guarantee, but they usually will do something or add to it. They engage you.
They engage you more because you're coming up to them saying, I want, like, to me, it's not for the eBays.
And I know plenty of people that don't want stuff personalized, and they also are not going to eBay it. But you could tell someone whatever, they'd not necessarily believe you. If you are okay with it being personalized to you, I find that will generally open up a lot more doors.
Well, like Tyler
with artists.
Tyler Willits are the guy who every year gets us a nice little goodie bag. I mean, he engages with them, because he's messaged us about it. And, like, he engages with them because he's like, I listen to this podcast. This is for them, and so like, there's more engagement than just like
sign next. And look, I've dealt with. I've got dozens and dozens of cons and dealt with hundreds of creators, their autographs and stuff like that, and I've definitely run across my fair share of absolute assholes at conventions, right? The people, are they having a bad day? Are they actual jerks? 99.8% are awesome and totally cool. and 0.1% are like exhausted, and it's just they're off, and that 0.1% is just a jerk, right? If they're just jerks, just be like, cool, thank you, and just go about your business. If they seem like totally out of it, or again, I did a signing with John Delancey. I do a signing, but I was at a convention. John Delancey was in Star Trek and a bunch of other stuff, and he was like. He had like 3 people talking to him at one point when it was my turn to go up. Like his handler was dealing with him. Like he was talking to someone else. They were like asking him to do something. And I just got yep, what's your name? Cool, done. There you go. And like that, I didn't have a time to even say one thing. And that was unfortunate. I actually wanted to say, would have my 30 seconds with the guy. But it wasn't a case where he was a jerk. He was like just being drugging.
It was a bad timing.
Yeah.
Three wires that he needed to connect, and you were there.
It happens, right? I mean, just go and have fun and tweet him afterwards and show him you got the stuff signed and tell him how much fun it was. Let's see. Mario Miranda says, what's the hype level for Spawn 300 at the shop? I'm curious how it may vary from shop to shop. Yeah, huge.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Have we gotten the cover art for the actual cover?
We did. It's not great.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's all right.
Is it at least 300?
It's issue 300.
Yeah, but is it an homage to that, or is it something else?
No, that's the parody cover. There is an homage cover to 300.
Oh, okay.
To Spider-Man 300. That's on that. Yeah, but we got a lot of orders. It's funny because there's a lot of covers, and I did get some people be like, "Okay, I wanted all of them, but this is actually too much," so they just kind of pared down to the ones they wanted.
Yeah.
So I did trim my orders a little bit at FOC because a few of those I was like, I'm gonna. I did pre-orders plus a couple of each on the shelf, and when there's like 15 covers, a couple of each is still a lot of copies.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be, I mean, by far and away the most copies of Spawn I've ever ordered, and it'll. Could it be our number 1 book of the month, like order wise? It might be. We got a lot of special orders for it, a lot. So yeah, and especially at that dollar point, it's an $8 book. It's going to be a very, very big book. Kevin just ran to the bathroom. I got 2 questions here, but I think he's going to want to answer both of these.
Well, thanks for letting everybody know he ran to the bathroom.
That's all right.
So behind on Spawn, I'm curious where the story went.
I haven't a clue. Verum Libertas.
So behind, I mean, I remember when issue 100 came out, and I was a little after that.
Yeah. Again, we already talked a little bit about this, but I will comment on this. Sony and Disney were reporting parting ways with Spider-Man, yay or nay. But his question is, who loses bigger here? And as Disney, I think Disney is the biggest. Sony loses nothing, really nothing, at the end of the day. They lose Disney's PR, but Spider-Man sells itself, I think, right?
They just got to learn how to roll with Tom Holland.
I'm still not sure if there's actually I would rather the deal go forward, but as far as I understand it, they still have the merchandising rights and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that Into the Spider-Verse didn't net them a massive amount in merchandising.
Into the Spider-Verse, I don't think so. Spider-Man Far From Home, absolutely. Into the Spider-Verse, not a big movie. I mean, it did okay at the box office. Still merchandise for it, though.
There's tons of merchandise for I don't know if it's specifically branded for that, but you can see Miles Morales Spider-Man figures at Target all the time, and
I think there's probably more, but
I don't know.
I don't know how accurate this is to today, but I remember years ago, and I feel like we've probably mentioned this on the podcast. There was some stat that Spider-Man was something like 60% of comic book toy sales, just Spider-Man.
Yeah, because
Batman was like 25%, and everything else was like the other 15%. Right? Like you think about those X-Men Toy Biz toys in the 90s. Nobody bought them. It was all Spider-Man, right? People saw other stuff. So I'm sure Spider-Man is still a massive juggernaut as far as merchandise, but they're not going to merchandise the movies if Sony doesn't have a deal with Marvel.
I guess my thing is the exposure character-wise and the amount, because a lot of those characters were already existing in some of the Spider-Man cartoons and that kind of stuff. I guess my point is I don't see this really hurting Disney because I do feel like they make plenty of money off other avenues with Spider-Man.
Yeah, but they're not going to. They're not going to push it. There's not going to be Spider-Man in Disneyland. Well, the really big fuck you point of this is the Spider-Man ride at Disneyland. I really wonder if they could 100% scrap that if this deal falls through.
Or it might be an independent entity not tied to movie rights.
No, but it is.
Like there's the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Gwen mission gear.
Yes. Yeah, there's some, but I didn't even think about that. That could totally put the kibosh on the entire Marvel land at Star and California Venture.
Well, it would be comic book related. It wouldn't be any movie related.
Well, no, it's all movie related. It's 100. Actually, I don't know if you saw this, Kevin. Did you see? I posted a picture when we were at Disneyland. They actually had an 80 Years of Marvel. They had an Avengers cover with Cap, Thor, Iron Man. It's like the new team thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, there's like a real comic book thing in here. This is really shocking.
Yeah.
It is 100% movie is what the ride is. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
What I mean is just people sitting around speculating.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that something like a ride is not merchandise and is not theatrical exhibition. That might be its own satellite deal that's not affected by.
Oh yeah. But the belief, again, what Charlie said. Marvel makes a shitload on merchandising Spider-Man. They didn't merchandise these other movies because they didn't have the rights to the movie, so why merchandise the movie? They could have made money on that, but they're not making all the money, so they're going to make none of the money. Merchandising the movie puts the movie into more people's heads, means they go see it, means Sony makes more money, not Disney necessarily.
Yeah,
and that's why they didn't do it.
Character exposure, I cannot think of a single time there has not been a Spider-Man toy for sale. I can definitely think of times I've walked down the aisle and I haven't seen much X-Men toys or whatnot. Yeah, but Spider-Man is always...
Yeah. Well, again, it's a huge, very successful property.
How long has it been since we had a Fantastic Four toy?
Well, they've had them recently, but before that, many, many years. All right, Zach says, what's a widely acclaimed comic run that you just couldn't get into? We were just talking about Immortal Hulk last week.
That's your pick?
Maybe.
I'm not wandering around the store again. Sorry.
You asked the questions where Charlie would need to wander almost every week.
Gotta get something.
I'm digging here for couldn't get into versus strongly dislike.
Well, that works too. If Toby was here, he'd say Sandman. I'm sure he just looks at it and goes, ugh.
I guess the thing is at the time, there's always going to be examples, sometimes because of other reasons, like the ecstatic stuff, because it was called X-Force when it first came out. Like, I took one look at the book, tried reading it, and was like, this is not fucking X-Force.
It's Mike Allred.
I know, but at the time, single issues, especially because I wasn't as up on comic book news and all that as I am now.
Oh,
it literally goes from like
so good
normal X-Force to reality show.
The best X-Force.
And it wasn't until like later that I went back and I read and could appreciate it once you take sort of X-Force out of it.
Sure.
There's definitely times like from that perspective, because of the jarring nature or something, or that it wasn't quite what I expected.
Yeah.
Can definitely affect whether or not I could get into it the first time around.
Yeah.
Oh, I got mine.
I got 3.
Oh, shit.
I'm just looking here on the rack. So 2 of these are old school and one is more recent.
Okay.
Sorry, Toby, on this first one, but TMNT.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the black and white Eastman and Laird originals.
Yeah.
You should be apologizing to me.
Him.
Oh, that's you?
And Toby.
Oh, Toby's the movies more.
Well,
I mean, it's very...
Okay.
Yeah. The original stuff is very juvenile.
Usagi Ojembo.
Jeez.
Okay, now you're apologizing.
But this question is
Charlie.
not disliking. This is just couldn't get into.
Yeah.
And then third would be The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Where I read the first 2 trades and I just wasn't invested enough to keep going.
Yeah. Rock City had something?
Yeah, Superior Spider-Man. I just couldn't.
That's good stuff.
I couldn't get into it. It just didn't hit it for me.
It's all right. Doesn't work for everyone.
Ryan?
I said Immortal Hulk.
Oh, okay.
I said Ultimate Spider-Man, probably too. I thought it was fine. And then it was just kind of nothing. I mean, the entire Ultimate Universe was it's just not real. so I just couldn't care less about it.
Not 616.
Yeah, it just sort of was like, oh, this is an interesting experiment. And I read Ultimate Spider-Man for a while, and I never loved it. And then it just sort of, it's like, well, this isn't Spider-Man. This is this other thing. And I didn't stick with it. Yeah, same thing with like Ultimates. I was like, oh, Ultimates like started cool, and then it just got like, oh, that's kind of weird.
1 and 2 were good. 3 is where just
Oh my God, 3. Oh.
Yeah. Well, but
They're trying to repress
those are widely acclaimed.
Apparently, we found.
I know. I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of widely acclaimed.
Yeah, I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man is generally regarded as widely acclaimed, and I just
since we're not on video here, when Brock said Ultimates 3, Charlie winced and clutched his brow with his hand. Now, for anybody else, that gesture is the equivalent of like standing up and throwing at the table over.
Craig Anderson says, I'm really... I actually got to mention... I got to talk about this for a second before we move on to answer his question. He said, I'm really excited for Bendis' Legion book to come out. Beyond excited. And Cosmic Boy should be the leader. Duh. Now, Bendis was tweeting about Legion, because he's been tweeting nonstop about Legion, and he was talking... Someone had asked him a question. I don't remember
we just need to have a Twitter account of your reactions to his Legion
I'm so
tweets.
excited. They asked him about something. Someone had asked him about something about Legion fandom. It doesn't matter what the question was. So he said, "Oh yeah, I love Legion fandom, and there's going to be a bunch of throwbacks, and we're going to, acknowledge this kind of this crazy fandom that they have." And so I tweeted to him and I said, "So when do we get the vote on the leader?" And he quote tweeted me and replied, and he goes, "Right now, everyone vote." And I was like, fuck yeah! So on Twitter, he had a vote for the leader of the Legion of Superheroes.
I voted.
I know. So my excitement is to the listeners here.
Oh. I thought you were sharing it to us.
No, well.
Is that thread still up?
I don't know that Charlie and Brock saw it. I know you saw it.
I didn't see it.
So
that was maybe like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one, I hope that's real. I hope he actually uses that, because that's fucking cool. And two... Bouncing Boy is the answer to this question. There's actually, I think we have a question later about Legion. About Legion
I probably
leaders.
have to vote for Matter Eater Lad.
He got a few.
The current incarnation.
Matter Eater Dad is what they're calling him now.
So what's Craig Anderson's question about the Legion?
His question was: is there a book that you were really excited for, but when it came out, it was an incredible disappointment? For me, it was probably All-Star Batman and Robin, and that would also be Toby's answer, I think. So,
ooh.
I mean, that is pretty. That is pretty good one there.
I might say Dark Knight 2. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Frank Miller and Batman.
Yeah.
I don't even say it was bad. It just was so different than what I wanted.
I got an answer for all those trolls in the Facebook group.
Oh, dear God. Here we go.
Man. Milk Wars should have been the greatest thing ever.
God, that thing was
and it just didn't click. I still love my Milkman man.
No. You can't even say didn't click. It just...
It was an incredible disappointment.
No, it was not. It was an
incredible disappointment. Yes, it was.
Pile of hot trash.
The pitch was so good. The setup was so good. Those Quietly covers were perfect. The idea is fantastic. The execution... It's just not what I was hoping for. But Milkman Man, character find of 2017. Sticking with it.
Charlie?
I mean, we've already named most of the ones that come to mind, including Ultimates 3, which you've already seen my reaction to.
Oh, yeah. Is there a bigger disappointment than Ultimates 3?
But were you super hyped for Ultimates 3?
I was super hyped for Ultimates 3.
Okay.
1 and 2 was really cool.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Joe Mad. Yeah, that's right.
Loeb had just moved over from DC to Marvel, and like that book and some of the stuff that happened immediately from him after that book was like, so did DC just send Loeb over here to like tank Marvel?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah. It's just what happens. You work for DC, you do great work. You go to Marvel, it sucks. You work at Marvel, and you go to DC and do great work again. Like, it's just what happens.
Oh, God.
That's for Bryce. And first time listener.
He doesn't even listen.
One day he'll.
We could summarize it to Bryce in a few months.
Brock's got
there
one
was
more.
some hype for Convergence.
Was there?
There was a bit of hype, and then it was like,
I've got one for Craig. I like Convergence. Well, I didn't read all of it.
Yeah, that's probably
Ryan. I've got it, and Craig will.
I like Convergence.
I think Craig will be on the board with this one.
Okay.
Retroactive.
Those were fucking bad.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
And man, I don't want to go too negative, so let's just say I was disappointed.
Yeah, they were not great.
we dollar them automatically now.
Good idea, just didn't quite.
There was one issue that I'm not even going to name check, but I believe they were more than one story per issue, right? It was like shorter stories.
Yeah.
It was like an 8-page story, and I literally tapped out after about half I couldn't even get through an 8-page story.
I've been there. All right, we got a couple questions on Twitter. We're going to have a few of these. Now, this is from Cross X Hunter. He says, you mentioned your spinner racks at the store a few times and how much you like them. What do you stock on them? Dollar comics, new issues, old standbys? Yeah.
At this rate, it will be the entire store.
It's going to be a store of spinner racks. You walk in and everything's spinning.
Don't encourage him.
Including the back issue bins.
F that.
No, this started.
Go and display your shit at home on that. Do not bring it here.
I think these books and the spinner racks were just destined to go together. It is the Marvel Dollar True Believers and now the DC Dollar books and the Marvel and DC facsimile editions. The Batman
the straight reprints.
Yeah, it came out this week. Which actually, Kevin, you saw that sweet paper with the newsprint paper.
I don't have a pick of the week tag here in the store, but that would be my pick of the week. Is it 232, right?
Yeah, 232, yeah.
232.
Charlie's going to have a copy of that.
Was there always so much white space around it, though? That's the one thing that threw me. Like, I flipped through it, I'm like, it feels like there's more white space than I remember.
The borders, right? It just seems like the art is slightly smaller, but I couldn't testify in court that that's accurate. You know what I mean? It just like seems.
There's usually quite a bit of, in those older books, they don't go to the edge, right? I mean, it's because it's ink, so it would bleed off. They have that. They have that buffer.
Yeah. I don't remember the buffer being quite that extreme.
Someone will have a page by page
comparison.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
but the color looks great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
the color. DC, you can do it. You could do it.
They have those originals.
I'm super excited to read this because this is something I've never been able to actually track down and buy digital. I'm like, I don't want it digitally. I want to hold it in my hands.
Yeah. So they're all these reprint comics. And I tell you, we sell a boatload of them, and we sell everyone.
So who's the questioner? Who was
Scott?
Okay, so Scott, from the angle where we're sitting right now on the closest spinner rack, here are the comics that are easy to see. X-Men #1, meaning Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Yep. X-Men 137, The Death of Phoenix. Giant Size X-Men 1. Hulk 181. Amazing. What is that? 252?
Yeah, first Black Ops.
And Alpha Flight #1, and then a New Mutants issue.
First appearance of Domino.
98.
Okay, 98.
Yeah.
That's what's visible from this angle.
Also Deadpool. Yeah.
So that's a spinner rack that represents like different, like 40 years of comics, basically.
Yep. But it grabs people's eyes. Yep. I mean, kids can read them. We get so many just walk-in people that are like, oh, they still make comics. Oh, this is a thing I used to have, and that's what they buy.
My son was the other week. My son was in here, and he goes, "Daddy, I want to read some Spider-Man." I'm like, he was going through the dollar bins. I'm like, here, take this, and I got like $7 books, and he just absorbed it all.
Yep. They're really fun.
The first issue of Spider-Man to
Yep.
all over the place.
Very, very happy that DC's starting up these two because they have an incredible amount of awesome content.
We're not going to bring up Dan Didio's thoughts on that.
Well, no. I think I mentioned this. He said on the retailer forum, he was like, I'm a little embarrassed. He goes, I got the copy of Batman 232. He goes, I really like it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no shit. They're really cool. Yeah. You should keep doing these. They're really
I think I have that story in 3 different formats at home, but I'm buying that facsimile edition to support the program.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Well, it's because these are books that are exceedingly, in some cases, exceedingly rare or very expensive.
In almost every case. Yeah.
And the thing is like having people able to get a copy that is a reasonable price that they can just enjoy and, just in that format is an amazing thing. I mean, when Image did their Image firsts, they had $1
Most
copy.
of them didn't sell.
The Walking Dead #1,
Walking Dead and Spawn
sold really well.
Yep.
And it's now a $20
like the first print of it.
It's like $20, and I'm like, not that this is something for the back issue market, but it's great to have the ability to go, oh yeah, I want to read the first appearance of this, or I want to read the first thing of this character. Because
it lends itself to certain content, especially in Marvel and DC. Yeah. He also asked if there was a new Legion superhero chosen and had to be someone that was never a leader before, who would you choose? And there's actually some people that I don't know. I don't. Bouncy Boy was never the leader, was he?
I don't think. I mean,
Bouncy Boy?
Yeah,
I think he was for a minute.
Was he? I don't remember him being the leader. That's why I always choose him.
I want to say he was, but
you want Karate Kid.
I want Karate Kid, old school with the old costume. Or Mon-El would be my number 2 choice.
Yeah. Mon-El's probably.
I don't think Mon-El's ever been a leader.
No, I don't think
Saturn?
so.
Is it Saturn?
Saturn Girl? I mean, they've all the original guys have all been leaders. Brainiac 5's been leader.
Timberwolf. Let's go crazy.
Was Triplicate Girl or Duo Damsel the leader in one of those later volumes? I feel like she was. I'm so bad with who the leaders have been through the years. They tend not to last very long as leaders.
No, because they tend to have a vote every story.
You gotta vote for the readers. Have to vote for the leader.
Legion is a very pro-voting type of book, so don't read it if you're political, because
From Jeremy, Jeremy from Comic-Con. Hey, what's going on? I heard a good source that Diamond isn't rolling out those new shipping boxes until late September. Not quick enough. My shipment was absolutely destroyed today. Dropped and packed by Brock, apparently. So if you have a namesake at Diamond...
Motherfucker, don't tarnish my name. There's already one asshole in California that's done that. Don't do that shit. I will hunt you down.
If you're a packer at Diamond and your name is Brock, you better watch out. Don't sully Brock's good name.
Fucking kill people.
Jeremy, I hope your shipment gets better. Yeah,
me too.
We go super nerdy here for a second. I've told Diamond, I've told other retailers, look into FedEx. And they're like, FedEx is not perfect. We've had our issues, but the shipments show up in good shape.
Well,
UPS,
our shipments show up in good shape, and normally the only damages we receive are damage before they were put in the box.
Yep. If Brock from Diamond drops your box before they put it on the pallet, that's not FedEx's fault or UPS's fault. Stefano says about Green Lantern Rebirth, the deluxe hardcover coming in the new solicitations. I'm not sure if you saw that, Charlie.
No, I didn't, but that's awesome.
He says, considering our everyone's favorite artist Ethan Van Sciver's prominent role with the book, how will you handle ordering it? And do you know if the cover is a new edition or new art or just recycled? At least as far as I do not believe it's new art. I believe it's recycled art. I believe it's Ethan Van Sciver because he did the entire story. We've talked about EVS a handful of times. He is pretty much on the outs of comic books. He is a pretty terrible person, turns out. That's been involved in some pretty terrible shit. It is unfortunate with someone that has done a lot of good work and worked with a lot of big creators kind of flames out like this. I had a great somebody explained this to me in a really great way a while back, that he is one part of this machine for all these other books. And if you boycott or do not support the book, you are hurting him in some small way. But you're also hurting DC, Jeff Johns, the inker, the colorist, the graphic novel department, everyone else that works at the company.
Yep.
I've stocked every version of every book he's done at DC, every book he's done at Marvel. I will instantly restock if Marvel puts Grant Morrison's new X-Men back into print. He had work in there. I will absolutely restock that stuff. I will not support anything new he does because he's doing that on his own. If he returns to Marvel or DC, I would severely question that and have some pretty choice words for the companies, as well as have a real moral quandary of what I was going to do, because I would find it very difficult to support new work by him. Mm-hmm. That said, I am totally fine supporting his older work. It's not for him; it's for everyone else involved. Mm-hmm. I want customers to be able to experience the great stories and the great characters. And most people probably don't know. Many people probably don't care.
Yep.
So there's that aspect of it as well. But
you could always go and just support the local shop by buying all the back issues, and then go to a binding place and get it all bound.
You can do that too.
You can just cheat and use DC's mapping.
Yeah.
So I'll end up buying the hardcover. I know myself well enough to know that I'll end up buying the hardcover. But I will say that it does throw like that desire to instantly reread it is not what it would have been otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, I have Johns' Green Lantern in 3 different formats: single issues, hardcovers, and omnibus. I have multiple of them signed by Ethan Van Sciver himself.
Just take a blackout pen.
Yeah, probably. I seriously was like, I just want to put like a sticker over it and then just have Jeff Johns sign it a second time, right below his other signature. So there's not a lot you can do. You just get to kind of.
You know what you should do? You should just put a white piece of paper and then have the colorist draw their own thing.
Draw something over it. Yeah, I should. Stefano also asks, so what's up with the recent rush solicitation of the DC Giant issues? They promised new and old stories. Any insight as to what these are? Yeah. I don't know what the fuck the deal is.
Can I say something about this?
Sure, of course.
Because they popped up. So when I did my order on previews through the hub,
yep.
The information on all of these was virtually fucking nil.
There's nothing. It says Batman Giant size. It says Batman Giant #1, $5. That's the end.
Right. Yeah, that's the end. There was no cover art whatsoever.
Yep.
So my excitement level for these, I think I put down the Batman one and the Swamp Thing one, and then I'm like, yep, that's it.
So here's what they are. These are the books that are going to Walmart and Target and other mass market stores. They are going to have 24 to, I believe, 32 pages of original content. They are going to be basic one-shot stories. They're not going to be like multiple part stuff. The rest of that, they're 100 pages, so the other 80 to 70 to 80 pages are going to be reprints. The comic book stores are getting exclusive covers, reprint covers, so like using just recycled art is going to go to the mass market stores. The ones that come to comic stores will have brand new original art on the cover.
Is it going to be by John Romita Jr.?
We don't know what's going to be by. The books that will be ongoing will be out 6 times a year, so every other month. The books that are one-shots will just be a one-shot. So there's like DC Ghosts and DC Scooby-Doo, right? Those are just one-shots. They are meant for kind of like long-term sale, right? That's not meant for like a next issue. Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Flash, those will be 6 a year. They're going to kind of rotate them out.
And they'll do a graphic novel of all the content of just like, hey,
maybe.
So you're going to get a new spinner rack?
You might have to.
Damn it! No,
might have to.
No.
Might have to for the Giants. But yeah, what the deal with these are? They're $5 each. And they are, the stuff that was going to Walmart. But this is a different. This is like the next phase of this line. But we're getting them.
This is the. How would you put it? Comic books used to go to comic book stores and other places. And some of them had a barcode and some of them didn't.
Yeah. Well,
but now we have this where it's the content's the same. It's just this is going to be Walmart's version, and then the comic book stores.
And they want, they want to experiment that $4.99 price point, the more content, the reprints, see how they're doing for the True Believers and the facsimile editions. So,
I think at the reprints,
these are going to be cool.
I think the reprints and stuff in the backups, the reprints in it go with the stuff that's in the the new content. I think will work really well. Hopefully, they're not something that's like retroactive, which
the solicitation info should be soon. They had to get this out there because they're printing them and they're getting the material made, but they had to solicit them first. But we'll know well before you have to order them.
So watch that FOC.
Yeah, well, it should be before that. Casey says, is there one character, one group you would take out of the MCU? Just rip someone out of the MCU. Spider-Man, hey. Just take him out. Who goes? Kevin's deep in thought.
The Marvel cinematic universe. Oh, okay. I'm thinking Marvel.
Not the Marvel universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Meaning, like,
how about Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage? Just right out.
Meaning we would never see them again? Is that the premise? I guess so.
You said you take them out of the MCU. Nova. They said he was in that movie. Oh, wait. No, it was a joke. Oh, talk about
Iron Man 3.
Talk about how fast The Russo brothers said Nova was in that last battle in Endgame.
Yeah.
And the internet was like, what? And everyone, there's 1,000 articles. And like an hour later, they're like, oh, wait, never mind. That was just a bad joke that just didn't translate. No, he's not in that. And everyone was like, oh. Internet, stop reacting so quickly to shit.
I can't wait till they release the Nova edition where they just like insert him in one frame.
Everybody's wearing the Nova helmet, core helmet.
Should be taken out. I don't know. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, wait. The jokes here is that Marvel already took these people all out of the MCU. So that's all I got.
All right, next.
Now that Sony doesn't want money, which character is fast-tracked to take Spidey's spot? Deadpool? Wolverine? Jubilee?
What?
I don't know.
For Disney?
Yeah. It says Sony doesn't want the money. I think it's Morbius. And Morbius, we're going to have the Morbius Cinematic Universe, the MCU.
I'm just waiting for Marvel's zombies.
Yeah, because Deadpool, Wolverine, and Jubilee, they're all Marvel now. They're all Disney. So it's Spider-Man,
but
Black Cat.
I still have hope that I could see my Sony movie
Silver Sable?
Morbius versus the Six-Armed Spider-Man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Straight out of, I think it's issue 101, 102, somewhere around there.
Nerds.
Does Man-Thing go with them? Does some of those kind of deeper cut, kind of cousins of those characters go over? Jackal? I'm assuming Jackal's there. He's a Spider-Man villain. Page Turner's podcast. Hey, Page Turner's. Does a $4.99 price tag on a comic book versus a $3.99 price tag benefit you as a retailer, or does it only matter to publishers? Yeah, it benefits us if we get a whole another $1 when we sell it. Hell yeah, it benefits us.
But the only problem is if you're selling less.
But so far, that does not seem to be the case. We just sell the same or more. Publishers get about.
Is that a $1 increase?
They get about 30 cents, 35 cents extra. No, they put no. On $1 extra, they're pulling in about 40 cents after retailer discount and diamond. So 40 cents per copy sold extra. So yeah, when they sell 100,000 copies of a comic, that's a nice little chunk of change. That's my $4.99. It's going to be the price point coming next year, guys. Get ready for it. I've been saying it for a couple of years now.
Get ready to trim.
It's going to happen.
I don't know how Marvel's going to maintain the 120.
You didn't trim when it went from $1.99 to $2.50. You didn't trim when it went to $2.75. You didn't trim when it went to $2.99. You didn't trim when it went to $3.99. You're not going to trim when it goes to $4.99. You're still not going to go trim when it goes to $5.99. We're going to be like 80 years old in this podcast. When that book hits $24.99, I'm out. That's it. I'm out.
It's like a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. West Coast Avenger wants to know if you heard anything about the Hood being the villain in the Hawkeye show. Well, we just did. There's a character I hate. I fucking hate the Hood. I hate the Hood.
Did we get a question? A character you hate?
No. I'm just saying I hate the Hood.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if BKV's Hood is well regarded, but he sure shows up enough. I hate the Hood.
For the record, you broke my brain for a moment.
Why?
By the way,
because I hate the Hood.
Because when you mentioned comics being $24.99, my brain started doing the math of what would an omnibus cost.
$1,000. Yeah, is the Hood going to be the villain in the Hawkeye show? Maybe.
Does Hawkeye
have a villain?
Right.
Iron Man. Iron Man is Hawkeye's villain.
Or the Black Widow originally.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Taskmaster?
He's going to be in
Black Widow.
Black Widow,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm excited for that. Very excited for that. This is from Jor-El. Ooh, my question is for Brock. I want to know the origin story of his love of Harley Quinn. When did you first realize you loved Harley Quinn? The shitty animated series was off TV. That terrible costume that nobody cares about was gone. Harley was cutting her clothes off, getting tattoos on her face. And Brock was just like, no, that's the girl for me.
No,
Does she have tattoos on her face in that movie? She probably does.
Yeah, she does.
Does she? That Joker does.
Yeah, he also has it on his hand, too.
Yeah. Just for you, Kevin.
Please make that while Brock's thinking, I'm going to suggest make that the little banner image for this episode.
What?
Just Suicide Squad Harley? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've always liked Harley as a character, even from the animated series. Just kind of, I don't know, something drew me to her. I liked.
Gee,
her.
I wonder what drew a teenage man, a teenage boy to Harley Quinn.
It wasn't a costume. No, I liked the idea of the character in the sense like she was a very smart psychiatrist, and then her due to whatever her love or infatuation with Joker and his manipulation, it changed her.
That's Harley.
Over the years, I think I've gravitated more towards what she's like the Suicide Squad version, but the comic still has aspects of everything.
I burned out on the solo Harley stuff.
The solo Harley stuff's rough.
Yeah.
Like I give you that. But honestly, I think it was. I don't know. I think that what solidified it was. I mean, just Tara Strong's voice really just kind of solidified it. Just that the way she portrays Harley is just
from the games
and stuff. And yeah, I think
she did a good job.
Like that's what really drew me. It's just that tone.
Shouldn't the voice in any of the animated stuff in the DVDs? I think she hasn't she?
Well, like in the Arkham, like the Suicide Squad, Escape from Arkham, she did the voice there.
Yeah, she was in.
She did
in
the
all
voice
the Arkham
in
games.
some of the like Lego games too.
Okay,
she
did all the Arkham games too.
And didn't she did some of the later episodes of stuff, didn't she?
No,
that was all.
Did Arlen Sorkin? The couple times she appeared wasn't she in one episode of Justice League? Was that Mark Hamill and Arlen Sorkin?
I think that was still her.
Because it was only the one episode Joker showed up in Justice League in the original run, and I thought Harley was in that too. I don't remember.
2 episodes Joker was in.
Well, it was like a 2-parter, right? Like the original.
Well, there
run.
was
not the unlimited stuff.
There was the Injustice League 2-parter where he showed up at the end of the first part to go into the second part.
Okay.
And then there was a story with him and Harley and like the helicopter and the bombs.
Oh, I don't remember that one at all.
Which I want to say was the original, but that might be unlimited.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched it, but he was in at least 2 story arcs.
2 episodes, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I bet that was not.
As far as I know, they first transitioned to Tara Strong in the games, which was much later.
Yeah, I mean, Harley's a great character. Like I said, I think she's just her solo books just haven't clicked with me in a long time. But I love the character. I love the potential for the character. I'd much prefer a DC
you
animated.
You made the joke about her like cutting this and doing this, but there was
that. Why does DC not just have a DC animated Harley Quinn comic book? Like that would be fantastic. And you could still have the DC comic as well, but. We got time for one last question here before we wrap up. It's from Patrick. He says, I've been leaning more towards the Image titles here at my local comic shop, and I've come across some great books, East of West, Die, Wicked and Divine, all from Image. Are there any comics you would that you read and would suggest that don't come from the big two? Any more from Boom or Aftershock? I mean, I've mentioned this. My indie reading is so far behind right now because I've moved to trades on a lot of it just because I don't have time to read a lot of it. But I know we talked a lot about Once in Future. Really liked the first issue.
Yeah, I read you got that preview issue from the con. I read that. I really enjoyed that.
I was Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora, so that's from Boom. First issue, they're the 4th print, and the book just came out last week. Sound like hotcakes. So there's lots of copies out there, but you should still be able to find a copy of another printing. What was the other one that I was? There was another one.
The things he mentioned are things I really like.
Yeah,
I'll add on Death or Glory. I thought was a lot of fun. The first, I think it's 5 issues or 6, and then it just stopped.
It stopped, and then they solicited the last one and then canceled it.
I still think it ever came out. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Okay,
this is why I wait for a lot of independent stuff to wrap up.
And I, just going off one issue, I enjoyed it enough to keep going, which is Coffin Bound, which I think was a week ago.
Yep.
Or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it
very
just came
recently.
out from Image.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't gotten very far into it yet, but I just got the Monstrous hardcover, so I've been reading that. That's good.
More popular. I know I don't read too much Aftershock. I've tried a few of their things, but I read the first couple issues of A Walk Through Hell. It's Garth Ennis' book for Aftershock, and I like that quite a bit. That was pretty interesting.
I mean, I read most of Valiant's
Yeah,
lines,
yeah.
and I like those.
Valiant actually has some pretty different stuff coming up. They're pulling a few books out of their continuity and doing some just kind of standalone.
Yeah, but
titles.
yeah, the problem like I've been having on like when I do my pull list videos and talk about things is a lot of the Valiant stuff is kind of continuity heavy, so one thing leads to another. So it's hard to give people kind of a jumping on point. There are certain areas where you can jump on and then just branch out, but when they restarted, God, how many years ago now?
Valiant? 12?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
When they restarted, like, that's kind of a good place to start. I like the Exo Manowar stuff, so...
Yeah, that's about all I really read. I didn't go too much past. I read the first handful of...
It pretty much branches out from Harbinger, Bloodshot, and Exo Manowar.
Yeah.
Those ones, so...
Which all started really strong.
Yeah.
Ryan, do we have time for an email?
Yeah.
Oh,
let
Cue
me
the theme song.
give me a second. I got two things about email I have to talk about here. So let me pull up my email. Kevin Sharp's favorite part of this podcast is me going through my very ancient.
And I've got my pick already for when to get it.
I'm ready.
Give me October 2016, right before the world turned upside down.
The world turned upside down. I got 2015.
That's not an Orange Skull reference, is it?
No.
Oh, actually, just like a giant gap in here. But I.
Like, no matter your politics, you could say the world turned upside down in November 2016, right?
Okay.
No matter where you come down.
You want
the
October,
spectrum.
right?
I want October.
Let's see.
That was right after Rebirth started.
Yeah, let's see if some of these would be.
That was after our dreaded 0.5 episode without Ryan.
2016?
Yeah.
What happened?
Rebirth came out in 2016.
Rebirth was
2016.
Yeah, it was May 2016.
Yeah, but that was October was after the 0.5 we did without you.
Yeah, it was like in May or something like that. Yeah. Kenny, this is from October 24th, 2016. Kenny says,
Sorry, Kenny.
well, this is not very time.
Take it
This
through.
isn't a
Okay,
very timely
but-
question.
yeah,
This works. Hey, guys, a question for the podcast. What are your thoughts on Astro City? I never heard anyone talk about it much. I recently read the free digital editions of Comixology and loved them. So about the first few trades, it's fantastic. Been listening to the podcast for a few years now. Group of Marvel Kid, but you guys have turned me on some DC books as well. Love the show. Keep up the work. Keep up the good work. Sorry, that is Ken. Astro City. I fell off Astro City after it went on its weird hiatus, and Kurt Busiek had a bunch of health problems and blah, blah, blah. But the first couple of years of that book are genius.
Yeah.
There is...
We learned
That's-
no red barcodes on books with that.
Much later.
Yeah. That was one of those series that I was very late getting onto. It wasn't until after we decided to cover some of it on the Infinite Long box that I actually got around to reading some of it. And it was good. All the stuff I read was good.
Yeah, for people
And
that don't know...
it really needs a good omnibus.
Well, it needs anything in print, because at this
Yeah.
point, everything is out of print without, which is
But it
bananas to me, because...
it had a run, and then it had a second run. Yeah. It started at number 1 again, didn't it? Or
So there was the original miniseries. There was that run through Wildstorm. This one got picked up by DC,
Right.
When Wildstorm got bought. And then after that, it had random miniseries for a number of years. And then Kurt Busiek under DC and Wildstorm, or under DC and Vertigo. Was it Vertigo? Was it considered Vertigo then?
I didn't think that was ever Vertigo.
Or it was Wildstorm before they axed
Yeah.
it again. He did 50 some odd issues again. So I haven't read any of that. I read the original miniseries, the original run, and Dark Ages. So I read all through that. But I didn't read the back half of it, basically. And he said he's transitioning now to just a series of graphic novels, which means I would not hold my breath for that first volume. Kirby 6 unfortunately had pretty significant health problems, and his writing output is minimal these days. So,
but it was great.
Yeah, Brett Anderson, really good art on that.
And those covers are all
those covers are gorgeous.
Hardcover collection.
You could just make a book of covers for that.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty cool covers.
Yeah, nope. If you want superheroes, but you want an alternative to Marvel and DC, Astro City is your place to go, because it is like they take those basic elements and he just kind of remixes them a little bit. So
you could also do Invincible.
Yeah, fantastic book. Huh?
You could also do Invincible.
I need to finish Invincible.
You didn't finish it?
No. I didn't buy like the last hardcover or two. I need to buy those still.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to wrap up now. Thank you, everyone,
Kevin,
for listening.
You for our retro segment of emails.
Retroactive email.
Yeah, you're retroactive. You just make it so he does it. I love it.
We have to thank all of our high-tier Patreon backers or longtime backers here. Of course, we are going to start really quick with Pete over at the 7 Sagas of Silverbeard, which is on Kickstarter now.
I wanted to know what his where they're at now.
I'm getting right to it. This is his final week, so if you want to go back their comic, that's at you can just go to silverbeard.co.uk. It's monkeys. It's pirates.
I thought it was gorillas.
It's all the same. I'm a monkey racist. Okay, there's monkeys, it's gorillas, it's pirates. It's great. Now they finished their second stretch goal, and they will get paper toys, templates of the main character, so cool little cutout, paper craft stuff that you can do and you can make. So really cool. So go check those guys out again. That's silverbeard.co.uk. Also thank our good friends on Patreon. That's Joe Duff, Sam Che, Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie Podcast, Ryan Marling, and of course Craig Anderson over at craigpanderson.com. Go check out all the stuff those guys do, or if they don't want us to promote anything, just thank them for their support. And next
Patronage.
week our Patreon we still have one more episode, and then we'll do our beginning of the month thanks to all our other backers, so we'll get that in 2 episodes. I've been using the blog on Patreon a little bit more. We're putting some Q&A up there. I've been putting up a couple things, just hey, it's been busy at the store. What'd you pick up this week?
I know what this is. I'm trying to use it more.
Yeah, I am trying to use it more. Yeah, because I really need to be more engaged with the Patreon guys, and I'd like to do more exclusive content for them. So patreon.com/comicsconspiracy. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Patreon.com/comic-conspiracy, no S. If you want to kick us a couple bucks for supporting and to support this podcast, it is always wonderfully appreciated.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Of course, go to comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and Apple Podcasts. You can find all our previous episodes there. Go to youtube.com/comicsconspiracy, and the vast majority of that is our podcast episodes that we post to YouTube. If you just if you like YouTube and you want to listen to them, they're on there as well. You don't get to see our wonderful faces, but you do get to hear the amazing audio that we record.
It's so amazing.
Long-form questions that we'll read in 3 to 8 years, go to The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net. If you have a burning question that has no time limit for the answer, send it over there.
Evergreen.
Patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. Again, one more time. That is where you can kick us a couple bucks. And, of course, Comics Conspiracy, the store. It's comicsconspiracy.biz. If you're the motherfucker that owns comicsconspiracy.com, give that to me. Motherfucker stole that 20 years ago, and we never got it back.
Isn't it up for...
No. It's been held forever. The original owner, when they changed ownership, the thing just got let go, and someone got it, and it's never been available. So, comicsconspiracy.biz is the way to go. You can pick some comic books from us there. So
and they'll
we have
be
all
packed
sorts
by the better Brock.
We have the best Brock. We have all sorts of wonderful comic books and toys and merch that you can purchase on there for delivery or pick up at the store. Conspiratedbrock.com, that's Brock's blog, video pull list and unboxing videos. Help them move a few things to his new house, getting set up, going to get your videos back on with your great little backdrop.
Well, no, I have the videos have been going, I just don't have a backdrop.
Yeah, once that's up. You're not a true YouTube guy until you have that awesome backdrop. That's how you know.
Well, it's okay. I think I'm considered a okay YouTube guy because I'm going through a transition, and they like seeing
Have you had to send out the apology video yet?
For the background?
No, for being racist.
For some racist thing. Not yet.
Okay.
I try not to do that.
Okay, that's good.
Because I'm not that way.
Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. Make sure you check that out. And Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife, Leanne. That is her Etsy store.
Pumping out those tarot cards.
And, yep, she's been doing some Haunted Mansion stuff. And if you are going to be at the D23 convention this weekend in sunny Anaheim, California, you could see Leanne's art at the Haunted Mansion D23 contest display. Yep. And we're going to be there Sunday for a little bit, so come say hey. Follow us all on Twitter, Ryan Higgins, Ryan, Brock Sager, Larson, Bryce is Bryce Larson. I mentioned him even though he's not on this podcast. Why don't I do the whole roll call? Toby XI is Toby. Insanity and Chaos is Charlie. CS Shea is Scott Shea. That Kevin Sharp is Kevin over there. And Comics Con store is the comic book store.
You're going to do an old throwback?
What's that?
LD Exterminator?
LD Exterminator?
Yeah.
CC Bags and Boards, is that Lane? CC B&B.
They don't follow me. I don't like that account.
At Bryce Larson Quotes.
Oh, God.
We don't know who that is.
Whenever Bryce comes on, that Twitter
his ears tingling right now. Of course, Geekbox, Comedy Button, Manga Machinations, and Infinite Binge. There's some other things our friends do. Go check those guys out. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this wonderful podcast. We'll be back next week for all sorts of new comic book news and movie and comic book stuff. And
hopefully talk more about Batman
reviews
77.
and news and
would
all
you just
the things
cut it? Just fucking cut it.
You can use.
Just cut it.